see it. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Make the sound, idiot.
It's not as good now that I ruined the shot.
Okay. I'm here with my son Quinn
Hello.
and his friend John
Hi.
and my friend John.
Yeah, I was
Hi.
going to say he's your friend now.
Yep, we're all friends now. All right, and we just got done eFoiling. Tell me the name of your channel and what you do on it.
My channel is Just Outside, and I do anything having to do with climbing, camping, or things that are outside.
Crag culture, and I climb rocks.
And it's Craig culture because you put your hands in Craig's.
Yeah.
Well, it's called crag culture because when you like go to a rock wall to climb outside, it's called like going to the crag. Isn't that why?
Well, yeah, crag is a destination, like an area of rock climbing.
So literally,
It's
what I just
very
said.
non-climbers will not understand it, which probably hurts the
Channel
gaining
brand a little
following,
bit.
but-
Yeah, but you only care about climbers. so
I
it doesn't
only care
matter.
about climbers.
Yeah.
This tether was on here. I noticed when I was out there shooting you guys. I'm hoping it doesn't mess up our shots. Okay, so today we went out on 3 different eFoil boards. The Lift 2 Sport, so that's now considered old and big, and we used to be considered small and new 2 years ago. And then we went on the Lift 3 Pro, and we went on the brand newest Lift 4 Pro, and they're all different had wing setups. Let's not even talk about the Sport because it was just basically the chase boat. The
Okay.
black one is the Lift 3, so that's last year's board, and the blue one is the newest one.
All right.
And they're both pros. They're both the exact same size, and it's just one generation newer. Now let's talk about what they're mounted with. All the boards have taller masts, so I always tell my listeners don't buy anything but the tallest mast, and why.
Your listeners. Sorry,
Sir,
Viewers, listen. Well, I got to hear it.
viewers.
Are you guys not listening? Are you listening? Write me and let me know.
that's deep, man.
Hey,
Yeah.
fuck you.
Yeah, the taller masts are good because you don't really have to worry about breaching. I remember when you first got the Lift 2. I mean, it's super easy to ride, but very often, especially when you're learning, you end up going too high and you breach out of the water. And you can eventually learn how to get yourself back in without falling off. But for the most part, when you're learning, it's pretty much a guarantee you're going to fall off. And it's pretty easy to do, especially if the water's very calm. It's hard to gauge the distance of how far above the water you are.
And so it's the short mast is 28. The tall mast is 32. Doesn't it seem strange to you that like it's that much of a difference?
That's a crazy difference, yeah. Because I never even thought about it when I was out there, and I felt like I was going pretty high. 4-inch difference, wow.
But you notice yourself not breaching nearly as much. It's just a few inches.
Yeah, I don't even remember breaching, honestly. That's crazy.
Did you breach at all?
I did not breach. I lost control a few times due to speed control issues, and most of my falls would happen like the nose would bury on like a particular side that I was doing a turn and I didn't give it enough speed, and that's when it would kind of bury, and most of my falls I ended up like flying forward, but never once did I do that thing where you jump out of the water and get really hurt.
Yeah. So my son did not like eFoiling like as of last time he tried it, which was
I still don't, but I just want to be different. I'm just kidding.
you really didn't like. You were on the Sport one day. You hit a wave. You crashed hard, and you're like, "I'm done eFoiling. I don't like it."
Ever again. I said I was never going to do it again. I lied.
But now that you've tried these new boards, how is your opinion shifted?
I mean, like, yeah, of course. It was way more fun this time around. So yes, absolutely, my opinion has changed. When you're going from, a ginormous white board that doesn't feel good on it, and like you can never really get it to plane out. Like the biggest thing with these boards today was, like my key difference between black and blue was like I was able to plane it, and therefore once it's planed out, you got control. I could never get that white one to plane out. Even if I had it at its highest setting and I was going as fast as it would go, I could never get control of that board. And I don't know why that was. It might have just been because it was big. And
I noticed that when you were on a bigger winged board, you had a tendency to ride it in a way that its nose was going upwards. That tells me you didn't have your weight shifted far enough forward, so I could tell you're kind of a low back rider. And
Well, I try to ride it like I ride a longboard or a snowboard.
Yep,
Yeah.
and you're definitely riding more on the tail. But once you got on the blue board, the Pro with a 150 surf front, it produces less lift than the Camber Pro, which is on the black board.
I think the biggest thing that like makes me do that is when I put weight forward and I give it more juice, it ends up kind of like kicking up out of the water, or like starting to kind of dive a bit. So my first instinct is to, instead of increase my speed, it's to pull back. So it's like, you know, like I'm like I'm on a wakeboard and I'm like dragging it behind me. When in reality, what you're supposed to do is lean forward and increase speed.
Right.
You don't ride it like a wakeboard. You ride it like you'd ride a thruster, a surfboard.
I think that's the biggest disconnect, though, for me when it comes to the sport is like all of the things I know about boards don't apply to these boards.
Because you're flying a glider under the water.
Yeah.
You're not surface carving. A boat's not pulling you. And on a surfboard, to get going down the wave, you do step forward on the board. You put your weight forward. And so it is a little more like surfing, but then again, it's different because you're not surface carving. You're flying that glider. This is the first time both of these guys were up on the pro-sized board. Did you guys get to the point today where you were starting to feather the throttle on your turns, like pickups? Yeah. Okay, and did you feel like the G-force? Could you feel it banking and
absolutely
pushing?
Yeah.
And how'd that feel?
Good.
It felt good. To comment on, I think what was messing you up the whiteboard is very forgiving, where if you are tilted up a bit, you can still pretty much glide. It doesn't matter that much. I think that's the biggest disconnect for me, even going to the pro board, is that I had to get used about actually maintaining that speed to keep horizontal, because if you start to tilt up, there's really no forgiveness. Like, you're done.
Yeah. It's like once you, like, another thing too is it forces you. These pro boards force you to stay on the foil at all times, whereas the whiteboard, I would be able to get on the foil for like a straight turn, but if I wanted to maybe drop down back to the water surface, how to explain? Like I'm
like you're not on foil, I guess.
Yeah, I'm kneeboarding, like whatever it is.
Yeah, the littler boards, they need to be in the air.
I'm going slow and I'm sitting there, or I'm going as fast as this board goes. There is no medium speed, and I didn't really understand I couldn't get up or control it until I had that throttle as maxed out as it could. I had it at 14 and I had it at like half, and that was the only time I had control over the board.
Another thing to mention is that the blue board has a Gen 4 battery in it. The black board, the Lift 3 Pro, had last year's battery in it. So it's an older battery. It also just has less juice altogether. Also, the blue board did not. It has the LCS system, the Lift Connect system, which means there was no fairing, there's no safety around the prop, so there's way less drag. And the black board had the Camber Pro on there, which produces more lift, but also produces more drag.
Yeah.
So that board is set to be slower, but probably the biggest difference once you're up and riding is all due to the wings. What'd you like better?
I ended up liking the black better, and I almost want to hop on the blue one again. So the blue one, quite great, awesome. It's also very responsive, but that's also, like you were saying, it sacrifices a bit of stability. Now, I think part of it, now maybe I could go out to the blue board and enjoy it just as much. But, I mean, this is my first time riding them in a while, so I think a lot of me being out there on the different boards was getting used to the speed requirement to keep them level and whatnot, and just kind of riding around. But after getting used to the blue board and the lack of stability there, which didn't really bother me much, but you can feel just a little wobble. So after getting used to that, I think going back to that black board to run out the battery, I felt so solid on the board. Like, I felt so stable. That was the first time that I was really whipping around and carving out there. So that might be part of it, is that I had the confidence to do that with the black one afterwards. I think I might want to try the blue one again interesting.
What did you think?
Kind of the same thing, although I rode the black one first. So I spent most of my time on black. Like, most of the time, if I get it up to the speed it needs to be, it's at 15, and it's like, doesn't feel right, so I'm eating shit. So you had me swap with the blue board, and I got on that one, and I was kind of like, all right, so this one, even worse. I hated it even more. And then I started to kind of figure out the speed thing. And then once I got on that, that's when I finally got up. That's when I started, turning, and we were able to kind of follow each other around the lake a few times. That one, felt better just because I think I figured out the overall eFoiling techniques at that point. So it was like, that was the board I learned it on. It felt comfortable.
I went by and I said, you need to go faster. And then you're like, I don't want to go faster because, it's scary. but that blue board is set.
Yeah.
With a much,
Well,
it's only going to behave at a higher speed, and once you got past that speed, then it started to respond.
Did you hear me earlier too when I like fell? I think I fell on the blue board. I fell twice on the blue board before I finally figured it out. But like the second time I fell, you came up to me and you're like, "You got to go faster." And I'm like, "I know. It's not like a skill thing holding me back. It is a fear thing."
Mm-hmm.
And then you like zoomed away, and I'm like, I want to fucking catch up with that guy. Like, he knows what he's doing.
For everybody who buys a board, I do suggest you buy the right wing for your body weight, because it really is about body weight. Like Laura, for instance, she needs to ride a 200.
Is that like a?
The 200 is how much surface area it is. You were on a 160 camber and you were on a 150 surf. I surf on a 100 surf.
Does your weight or is your body shape what determines that?
It's your weight, because the bigger the foil, the more lift it'll give you. Then the shape of the board of the wing, the different kind of stability it's going to give you. So a surf is going to tilt faster,
Okay.
whereas a camber is going to tilt slower, but be more stable, because it's got more like it has more camber.
Yeah.
And if you're heavier, what do you want?
You want to match the board, the wing to your weight.
So if I'm like 190 pounds, what's the perfect?
I would say you'd be happiest on a 100 surf,
What was the blue one again?
150 surf, and then the tail also plays a role. So
So I was light for that board or heavy for that board?
you were light. I think the way that you like to ski, and I know you were a ski racer, and I know that you can throw your body into a turn and then know how to get the board back underneath you before you fall.
Yeah.
Whereas the whiteboard, you can't really do that. With the whiteboard, you're chasing the board.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy. It feels like, kind of felt like that with the black one too.
Yep.
A lot of times I would turn and then I would have like, I was like describing it as input lag. I'd be like, I want to go that way. And then
There's
a few
a delay.
seconds later, then it's like, all right, cool, we're going that way. And I'm like, well, I already decided I wanted to go that way. So make up your mind.
That was one that thing that was nice about the blue board. It's like, I kind of want to go left right now, and you're gonna start.
Yeah,
going
like
left.
suddenly, like I just think about it and it goes that way.
No,
Whereas
it's
the black one. I had to think really hard about
I think I like right now. I'm liking the black one more just because I did the more carving and stuff. But after getting on the blue after the black, though, it felt like a more pleasant ride. Oddly enough, it felt more forgiving. Like I felt like if I kind of nose up, it was easier to adjust. Maybe that was just getting used to it. But
Well, it is more responsive,
yeah, oh yeah, it's absolutely more.
but it's also
responsive.
slipperier.
Yeah.
So if you aren't perfect, it's more likely to slip out from underneath you. Whereas the camber's more underneath you. When I say I surf a 100 front and a 36 glide rear, that means that glide is a little slipperier. I can kind of, you can TikTok a skateboard. You can do that a little easier. You can kind of like slide it from side to side.
Yeah.
That's what's on the blue one. So that blue one has a little slipperier everything on it.
I did notice that you could almost ride it like just using your feet, or not even feet. Like I almost felt like I could just move my legs as
Yeah.
if I was like standing on a rug, supporting myself, and just.
But I
turning
like
it.
that because that's
Like,
what it feels like to longboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I mean obviously you do also
Yeah,
lean and carve the longboard.
But
yeah,
most
it's
of the time
same
with a
thing where you
longboard,
can
it's
just-
like mostly your legs, because if you lean too far when you're going too fast on a longboard, you lose control.
But it was almost more similar to a snowboard in that sense.
Yeah, I
that you
agree.
could just
You can
move
smear
your
the back.
legs. Yeah.
Also, it's similar to a snowboard in which you do not have control unless you're going a certain speed.
Yep.
that might be why I
You
prefer
need to
the
go fast enough to
blackboard.
wobble.
Yeah.
And
Because I longboard much more, and you guys obviously do the snow sports a lot, and I think that's probably why I'm right now thinking, oh yeah, black good, and you guys are preferring the blue board.
I just like blue, I think, because it is more. I like a responsive board. I think that's why I like it more.
With the Camber Pro, and that's a 160. It's the smallest Camber Pro. What I feel like is I need to pre-plan my turn a lot more, especially if I throw my body into it. I have to do that slower because I know the board's not going to respond as quickly. So I think you guys feel the exact same thing I do. I'm hoping you feel comfortable going at a faster speed, because if I put the 100 on there, you're going to have to go faster.
Oh boy.
But you will also find it is so responsive. You can basically take the board just with your body weight shifting it, and you can make the board go to either side, and you can do that like wobble where your body doesn't really move, but the board slides from left to right. So you're kind of like you're banking, you're skating left and right like that.
Does it feel weird for you? Like when I'm carving, the board's not touching the water, and my brain feels like the board should be touching the water. Like the mast kind of screws with me. Like eventually it makes sense, but there's a big jump there between a
Yes.
skateboard, a snowboard.
You've been a surface carver your whole life.
Yeah.
It is time to learn to fly a glider.
Yeah, that's why it's weird.
Yep, it took me a while to get.
I just
used
wouldn't.
to
I
that.
wouldn't call this a board sport, and that's why when you call it surfing, I just don't agree with you. It's not surfing. Like surfing is very different than this. This is something else. You should call it flying from now on, because that's what it is.
I've made the argument that we don't need to register these boards because they actually fit a classification of an ultralight better than they do a boat
That's fucking
or a personal
wild.
watercraft.
You should force people to get a pilot's license.
Well, no, you don't need a pilot's license if it weighs less than 200 and something pounds, and then you don't have to register, and it does not need to have markings in any state in the United States. All right, question. Which hurts more, falling from a skateboard, falling from a snowboard, or falling eFoiling?
That's a toss-up, because there are many different ranges of falls on all of those things. I've had bad falls on all three, and I can rank them for you. It goes eFoil, snowboarding, and then skateboarding.
Where's wakeboarding?
Wakeboarding it's in between eFoiling and snowboarding, because wakeboarding you can have.
I've had very painful falls wakeboarding.
But usually if you're falling on an eFoil, you're not going very fast.
Well-
like usually you're falling, what?
I fucking ate shit so many times today going real fast, trying to keep up with him. Like in front of those girls, those kayaking girls.
Those are girls?
I think so.
Okay.
One of them was blonde and had long hair. I'm assuming they were women.
Could have been me.
You were on an what?
No, the kayakers, I'm pretty sure one was a guy.
Here's the thing. I was going past him, and I was kind of like, damn, I feel like I'm like showing off right now. It would really suck if I fell, and then 2 seconds later, and then I had water up my nose, and I was like, oh.
That's the staying in the zen. Because I feel the same way. Anytime I like pass a boat or go by the beach, it's just like, oh, there's people there.
The first year I did this, and I had the short mast especially. If I thought of anything other than exactly what I was doing right now, I would eat it.
Yeah.
And it was so, like, I would wave to a neighbor, and 5 seconds later, eat it.
Well, whenever you talk to me, I eat it. Like when I'm yelling at you, it's different. I'm in the zen when I'm yelling at people for some reason.
Yeah, I noticed that. I'd give him like a pointer, and he'd biff. And I was like, I gotta stop doing that.
He's like, you'd come by me and be like, move your feet over, and I'd be like, what? And then just in the water.
That was
Yeah,
me.
I've talked about this many times on the show. You cannot midline ride an eFoil. If you do that, your chances of landing on the sword that is underneath your board is very high. If the board, can you hold that for a second? Mm-hmm. If the board is underneath you and you're riding, so here you are happy surfing, and let's say the board starts falling in this direction, so the blade's coming up in this direction, and you come down here, this will land in your lung and collapse it, or it'll land on your face and poke your eye out, or it will cut you. You don't want that to happen.
Yeah, it's fucking metal.
So
though.
if you
Like,
ride,
my lungs,
if you ride midline, you can't choose which side to eject from. If you ride like this, though, on the other hand, you can always choose
So
which
no
side.
matter what, if I'm riding like this, there is no chance, zero chance that I will fall on that blade.
It is less likely, significantly less
Damn it.
likely.
You should. I wish you would have just said zero there. I don't want to think about
If you jump off early, like as I was talking to you guys earlier, on an eFoil, it is not a wakeboard. On a wakeboard, I would fall, and I would hold onto the rope, and I'd slide on my back, and I would try to spin around and stand back up.
it. Have you ever fallen
on
onto
a
the
knee-
mast?
No, I never have. I've never had even a single close call, except for the closest I ever came to coming down on anything sharp or spinny was when I was practicing that turn to goofy, that jump when I was jumping on the board and then flipping my stance to jump to goofy.
Yeah, you had that coming. That's stupid.
And I had a couple where I came down and my shins hit the side of the board, and I thought, and then in one of them, my finger felt the foil go by because I like landed upside down.
Yeah.
And I said, this trick is not worth what could happen. And I was like, I thought it was a great trick because I was like, it looks cool and I can rest. Because like when I'm out there and I'm carving really hard, sometimes I'm like cramping up a little bit. And if I could just go backwards without stopping the board, it'd be great. I'd just do it all the time.
Can you jump these things?
Yes, I have seen a video of a person landing it. They went behind a boat wake. They did flip an eFoil. But one of the issues
Maniac.
there is that
You should put that clip into your
I'll
video.
see if I can
and
find
credit
it.
Him. That's sick.
I'll see if I can find it.
I'll find it for you.
I
That's
do
awesome.
believe he had a toe strap on his, and I think about this all the time. Is like, how great would this be if I had some form of a binding? Because then I could do so much more. That I could like lift the tail. Right now, all I can do is push down on my back foot or my
You can't
front
bail
foot.
from it if your feet are stuck in it.
Yeah, here's the problem. The thing is heavier than a wakeboard. So it'll turn into riding you. Plus, it'll twist your legs. The reason I really moved to this sport is that I've had so many knee injuries and stuff that I was like, I got to move to something before, like, I just end up in a freaking wheelchair, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't keep hurting myself like this. And with wakeboarding, I was getting at least 1 or 2 good injuries a year that like my knee swelled up, and I was
that makes sense.
Then I had knee surgery, and my doctor's like, okay, here's the thing. Do you want to keep walking?
I noticed wakeboarding for me, it just kind of hurt your joints after a while, and I don't have any injuries.
No, you're very lucky.
But like, I feel like that back then too, I was a little bit like weaker muscle wise, so I feel like I'd be fine now. I will say, out of all the water sports we've done, wake surfing is still like the peak. That's
your favorite.
I'm the best at it. On a wake surf.
On a wake surf?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like the freedom though? I mean, like for me, I love like being able to go whenever I want.
No, I like
whenever-
that. I think I like wake surfing more because I like surface carving still. I like doing tricks. I'm never gonna do tricks on an eFoil.
I've said those same words.
No, it's not worth it's actually not worth the risk to me. Whereas on a surfboard, like
less
matter.
chance of you getting cut. Less chance.
like
of you
yeah,
getting
the thing
hurt.
is like the risk versus reward on a surfboard versus a wake surf or a eFoil. It's a pretty big difference. Like
Oh, they're very different sports.
yeah, a surfboard's not gonna impale me if I do a 360.
And that's
on it.
probably why eFoiling will never be cool, because and it won't be cool until you young, dumb, full of rum guys go out there doing things that get you hurt.
Listen,
right?
listen, man,
and it was old guys are never going to do that because
Yeah, but old people exist. eFoiling will be a good market for dads
It
who
will
want to
be.
not get hurt.
do you
And
think
once-
that's what eFoiling is? Is it a dad sport?
No,
Will it stay a dad
I'll probably
sport?
take
No,
up
I don't think
eFoiling. Nah, I'll take up eFoiling once I've stuck my fingers into too many rocks.
I
And they don't
think
close
once
anymore.
it becomes more mainstream and like there can be more competition in the market and more evolution in technology and the price can come down, I think that's when it's gonna blow
I
up
mean,
more.
I guess it would probably blow up more too if they just threw like a few.
There's
like,
not a single person
Instagram
that I've
skaters on
shown
there.
clips of me eFoiling to, and they're like, I have no interest in that. They're all like, that's the coolest shit ever. You're flying. I
Well,
mean,
let's
no
just-
one doesn't want to do that.
Let's actually see though. I'll just put. Let's test it. My audience is young, like 18 to 24. I'll put a short up of me eFoiling that you took today, and we'll see what the engagement is.
So I found something out. I went to my first eFoil race and competed in it last week. And race.
That's fucking sick. What, like slalom? Or?
Yeah. Yep. I'll show
See,
you.
that would be. That's cool.
So I was
would
on the
do
course.
that.
Now I went and I was like, am I good? I don't know, because I'm out here by myself all the time and I have no idea.
Am I good?
Yeah, right? I went to this race, and when you see the way I ride an eFoil, it is significantly different than the way everyone else rides an eFoil.
What do you mean?
Like when I went around, I was on foil all the time except for when starting. Everyone else, almost every turn, they were touching the board to the water.
Were they faster than you?
Way slower.
right.
Weird.
Way
Why-
slower.
Why do you think they? That's.
And some of them are trainer. These people spend all day long on a board, but they spend all day long on the board going really slow and riding bigger boards and training other people. Whereas all I do is go out every
You're at
day
the pro boards.
and constantly carve.
Yeah.
I basically like, how many carves can I get in the next 45 minutes? My average speed on a ride is 26 miles an hour. You're very zen-like. Like when John's up, he's doing a little bit of turning. But his body's relaxed. He's got a real hang stance, you know.
Yeah.
And when you carve, I look right at you and I'm like, oh yeah, Quinn's gonna be more like me. He's gonna be aggressive. He's gonna push his body weight forward. He's going to force the board to do its.
yeah, the board's gonna do what I want it to do.
Whereas you are.
you're like
You're
I'm a-
definitely relaxed with nature when you're.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so it's just so relaxed. I mean, you're flying, it's just like, oh, I'm just relaxing, I'm riding. I think, like I said, after getting used to the blue board and then getting on that black board again, I think now being more comfortable with the carving and everything. Because it's usually when I'm up, I'm like, oh, I just want to sit here and fly. Like I don't want to fall in and all that crap. I just want to sit here and fly.
All that crap.
All that crap. So, and then I think that gave me a little more confidence with carving. So I'll see how I do now with going forward. But I also do have like no issue just being zen and just floating.
If Quinn has the same genetics I do, and I suspect you do.
I don't think this is a genetic thing, but it's definitely an inherited trait.
Oh, okay, fine. A meme that I passed down.
Yeah, there you go.
From taking you skiing.
Now you're speaking my language.
Yeah. I get a significant dopamine reward from carving. Like when I feel G's from powder, from snowboarding, from skiing, from wakeboarding, that feeling. Surfing. That was the thing I liked about surfing is when I finally got up after spending days of just practicing getting up on a surfboard and I finally had my first good carve. I love this sport. This is such a great sport. And it's always in a beautiful place. And there were a lot of pros, but I noticed there was a lot of waiting around. So let's say I spend 33 minutes carving. That's more consecutive carving than I can get at any of the largest mountains.
Yeah.
In the world. I would have to hit a chairlift within 10 or 15 minutes at any ski place.
Yeah. I think the reason I like this is it reminds me a lot of mountain biking in the sense where you never stop. Like on a mountain bike, you don't stop. You have to climb, but you're not stopping. You're just going up a hill and then you're going down a hill. And the faster you go and the more into the groove you get, like on that trail, the better you're going to feel. You're not going to feel good going slow. Like you basically just go as fast as you possibly can and you attack your brakes. And I have a clip I can send you that like showcases that. It's the same here. You get it up to the speed that the board is comfortable at this speed. You need to just accept that. And I just happen to enjoy that speed because I'm broken or something.
Well, okay. So when you're doing that, you do get to carve on a bike.
No, I think it's the same concept. That's why
But you also get the up and down, too.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. On a mountain bike, you have a thing called the dropper post. You push the seat down when you're actually going downhill, and you go into this thing called the attack position. You're up on your pedals, and you're no longer following the bike. You're going around turns, and you're maneuvering the bike underneath you. eFoiling's the same thing.
Independent from it. So
yeah, I am not the bike anymore. I'm not riding the bike. I am controlling the bike around turns. The eFoil is the same way. The eFoil is listening to me and my body, and it's my job to turn it. They're very similar, and when it comes to the difference between a okay rider and someone who actually knows what they're doing.
You guys both know what flow is, right? Mm-hmm. The like most science tells us what causes happiness.
The concept
when
of
you
flow?
get so good at something that the more complex it is, the more dopamine you get from it.
Yeah.
So when a surfer gets good enough where they're not fighting anymore, their spinal cord's making a lot of the decisions for them. It's not even going to higher brain function, but it still uses enough of your brain where it's getting the reward of the calculating the run. And I felt it skiing, I felt it wakeboarding, I felt it water skiing, I felt it eFoiling, I felt it snowboarding. I've not felt it mountain bike. I'm not good enough at mountain biking to feel it. I still feel terror when I'm mountain biking.
At this point, I feel it mountain biking, but I still, I've taken some pretty bad falls on the bike.
What else do you feel? Where else have you felt the flow?
Climbing and skiing. We feel it. Climbing, you feel the hardest.
Snowboarding, do you feel flow?
Not as much, but yeah. When it comes to snowboarding, I feel it when I'm in the air.
Skateboarding?
Yeah, longboarding, yes. Hill bombing.
Okay.
Like going fast down hills, that's when I feel it.
Where else?
Sex? I don't fucking know.
Feels pretty. You're not thinking about it?
Nah, man. I'm fucking in my own zone. I hope you're having fun, because I know I am.
I just zone out, let my body do everything, It just
what
does all the shit.
Sports have you felt flow in?
Yeah, climbing for sure. I mean, a lot of the same things, except just fewer of them, because I do less shit. But yeah, longboarding. I think climbing for sure, like doing rope climbing specifically when you just...
Oh, yeah. You get into a groove when you're on the rope.
Very much a flow state.
Wait, I have a question. Is it dangerous to get into flow when you're bouldering?
No.
You don't really get a chance to get into flow when you're
the calmer
bouldering.
you are on a boulder problem, the less likely you are to get hurt. Because if you're like tight, when you're afraid, you're tight. Your muscles are tight. Your tendons are tight. And if you're not, using your muscles correctly and you're not like using your skeleton correctly to like disperse the weight properly, that's when we have injuries in the fingers. That's when we have falls that are improper, because if you fall and you're all tense and you land on your arm wrong, that's when it breaks. But if you're loose and you let go with your feet first and then you drop, you know, the more control you have over your body, the less likely you are to get hurt. That's any sport though, that's not just climbing.
Well, at bouldering, I don't think you really have a chance to get into a flow state. So boulders are never really that long. It's more powerful, like technical. There are exceptions. I mean, there are long boulders that you can kind of get into a flow state, but really the flow state is with rope climbing, and you're just kind of move.
Like basically the flow state for me is a series of problems. It's moves. So the moment I get my hands on the starting hold and that's it. I'm in, and I'm not thinking. I'm just doing the moves that I've practiced. Rope climbing is just a longer period of that. Although I'm thinking a little bit more on the wall, because I'm thinking about conserving energy and where I want to rest when I'm on a rope.
Interesting.
Whereas with bouldering, the only thing I care about is topping out, because I can use all of my strength, 100% of my strength to get there. So I don't need to think about conservation. I don't need to think about, oh, well, I don't want to use my arm too much here because I'm going to need it later. Like, I'm not thinking about that. I'm just top to bottom. Whereas on a rope, a long climb, there's like, oh, this holds good. I'm going to put my foot behind me. I'm going to sit here for like 5 seconds, shake my arm out, get chalk, and like prepare for my next part, I guess, is how I would describe.
Are you aware of other people when you're in flow state? Like, are you able to be conscious of your surroundings, and like, can you hear people cheering for it?
No, people cheering for me pulls me out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, like subconsciously, that was.
I was like, "Go, John!" He like slips out. And he's like, "Shut up!"
No, I just got annoyed because I like biffed a move that I never biffed before, and they just were talking, like they weren't doing anything wrong. I was just like, "Shut the fuck up!"
I was like, "So how's your brother?" And he's like, "Shut up!"
No, I don't know. I mean, like when I'm in a flow state, I'm not unaware of other people talking and things going on, but they're not in my like focus.
This is going into like the concept of flow. I thought we were reviewing boards, man.
I mean, we are.
Oh, are we on your podcast? This is a podcast, or is this like a YouTube thing?
Mostly YouTube.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know.
That's why the camera.
So nice to be on a podcast that isn't like a dating advice podcast.
I think that was helpful. We're going to ride again. We're charging batteries right now. I'm curious. I'm thinking now, maybe that I've talked to you. I'm thinking maybe I'll put the 100 surf on the blue board, and we'll swap some things up, and we'll see if you guys like that more or less. But you know, one of the cool things that you can do with these eFoils is you can completely change their personality just by swapping the front, the wings, or swapping combos. And that's new for me, because I used to have to buy a brand new wakeboard every time I wanted any slightly different experience. Right. All right, we're going to call it there. Thanks, guys, for helping me review boards and talk about this sport and your sports. And it was really interesting to learn what keeps you guys rolling.